They say the mate bond is sacred, unbreakable, a gift from the moon goddess herself. They're wrong. I learned that the night Alpha King Troy looked me in the eyes and shattered my soul with 5 simple words. I will never love you. Standing there in front of his entire pack, wearing the ceremonial dress I'd foolishly thought would become my mating gown, I felt something die inside my chest. Not my heart, that was already broken. Something deeper. Something that whispered I wasn't worthy of love, of acceptance, of anything beyond the scraps of mercy they'd already thrown me. Before we dive in, if this is your first time listening to one of our audiobooks, hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you more powerful stories like this one. Stick around until the very end of the video and let me know where in the world you're listening from. Now let's begin. Chapter 1, The Cruel Vow. The scent of my own fear mingles with the cedar smoke rising from the ceremonial fire, and I know this night will destroy me. I stand at the edge of the great stone circle, watching Alpha King Troy's broad shoulders tense beneath his midnight black ceremonial jacket. The entire Moonrise pack has gathered for the claiming ceremony. Hundreds of wolves arranged in perfect rings around the ancient altar, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. They've all come to witness their king choose his Luna. They have no idea they're about to watch him reject her instead. My wolf stirs restlessly beneath my skin, sensing what's coming. She's been on edge all week, ever since the council announced that the mate bond between Troy and me had been confirmed by the Pax Moon Reader, a low-born Omega and the most powerful Alpha in the Northern Territories. It should have been impossible. But the goddess works in mysterious ways, they said. Mysterious. That's one word for the cosmic joke she's played on both of us. Troy turned slowly, his steel gray eyes finding mine across the circle. Even from 50 feet away, I feel the electric pull between us. That damned mate bond that neither of us asked for. His jaw is set hard as granite, and I know with sickening certainty that he's made his choice. Bring forth the Omega, Elder Blackthorn commands, his weathered voice carrying across the silent gathering. My legs feel like lead as I walk toward the altar, every step echoing in the unnatural quiet. Whispers follow in my wake. I catch fragments of their judgment like shards of broken glass. Mysterious lineage. Appeared from nowhere 3 years ago. No pack, no family. Doesn't belong here. They're not wrong. I am nothing. A stray Omega who stumbled into Moonrise territory half dead from silver poisoning, with no memory of where I came from and scars on my arms that I can't explain. Troy saved me that night, brought me into his pack when he could have let me die in the forest. I've spent 3 years trying to prove I deserve the sanctuary he gave me. Apparently, I failed. I stopped 3 feet from the altar, close enough to see the muscle ticking in Troy's jaw, close enough to smell the wild pine scent that makes my wolf whimper with longing. He's beautiful in the way that dangerous things are beautiful, all sharp angles and restrained power, with dark hair that catches the firelight and eyes like a winter storm. Those eyes are ice cold now as they meet mine. Fiona Hayes, he says, and my name sounds like a curse in his mouth. The moon goddess has seen fit to bind us through the mate bond. The crowd holds its breath. This should be the moment he claims me, marks me, makes me his Luna before the entire pack. Instead, Troy's lips curve into something that might be a smile if smiles could draw blood. But I am not bound by the whims of fate. My heart stops beating. Around us, the pack erupts in shocked murmurs, but their voices sound distant and muffled, like I'm drowning. Troy steps closer, close enough that I can see the golden flecks in his gray eyes, close enough that the mate bond screams between us like a living thing. When he speaks, his voice carries across the entire gathering, each word a nail in the coffin of whatever foolish hope I'd been carrying. I will never love you. His eyes never leave mine. I will never mark you. I will never mate with you. The words hit me like physical blows. Someone in the crowd gasps, maybe Elder Blackthorn, maybe one of the pack mothers. But I can't look away from Troy's face, can't process anything beyond the brutal finality in his voice. He continues, louder now, making sure every wolf in the territory hears him. You are not Luna material, Fiona Hayes. You have no bloodline, no strength, no worth to this pack beyond the charity we've already shown you. Something cracks inside my chest, not my heart, because that was already broken. Something deeper. Something that sounds like the last of my dignity shattering against the stone altar. But I don't cry. I don't beg. I don't fall to my knees like he expects me to. Instead, I lift my chin and look him straight in the eye. When I speak, my voice rings clear across the silent gathering, carrying a strength I didn't know I still possessed. And I will never bow to a heart that despises me. Troy's eyes flash with something, surprise, maybe, or anger. Good. Let him be angry. Let him remember this moment every time he closes his eyes. I turn my back on him, on the altar, on the pack that's staring at me like I'm a wounded animal they're not sure whether to pity or put out of its misery. Each step away from the ceremonial circle feels like walking through quicksand, but I force myself to move with dignity. I make it exactly 12 steps before the mate bond hits us both like lightning. The sensation stops me mid-stride, a surge of raw, primal need that has nothing to do with choice and everything to do with the fundamental laws that govern our kind. I gasp, my hand flying to my chest where it feels like someone's reached inside and squeezed my heart. Behind me, I hear Troy's sharp intake of breath, followed by a low growl that makes every wolf in the gathering step back in instinctive fear. I don't turn around. I can't. Because if I look at him now, if I see whatever expression is on his face, I might do something we'll both regret. Instead, I keep walking, even as the mate bond wraps around us like invisible chains, even as my wolf howls in anguish, even as I feel something fundamental shift between us that has nothing to do with his cruel words and everything to do with the undeniable truth pulsing in both our veins. He can reject me all he wants, but the goddess isn't finished with us yet. Chapter 2, The Servant Luna. 3 weeks since the rejection, and I'm scrubbing blood from marble floors like the servant I've become. The Contractual Luna agreement sits framed on Troy's office wall like a trophy, a legal document that binds me to this palace for 1 year while giving me none of the power or respect that should come with the title. The council insisted on it after the rejection ceremony. Can't have the Alpha King's true mate wandering around unaccounted for, they said. Bad for pack stability. So here I am, living in the servants' quarters of the royal wing, wearing simple gray dresses instead of Luna gowns and answering to Miss Hayes instead of your grace. The pack treats me like I'm contagious. Whispers die when I enter rooms, eyes follow my every move, and no one dares speak to me directly unless absolutely necessary. I'm a ghost haunting the palace that should have been my home. My knees are raw from 3 hours of scrubbing, trying to remove the stains from today's border skirmish with the Shadowclaw pack. Troy returned an hour ago with 5 wounded warriors and enough blood on his clothes to paint half the foyer red. The royal physician tended to the others, but the Alpha King disappeared into his private chambers alone, as always. That was 20 minutes ago. The silence from his room is starting to worry me. I shouldn't care. After what he did to me, after the humiliation and the cold shoulder and the way he pretends I don't exist during pack meetings, I should let him bleed out for all I care. But the mate bond doesn't care about logic or pride. It whispers in my chest, insistent and aching, telling me something is wrong. Damn it, I mutter, dropping the bloodied rag into the bucket. I pad barefoot down the marble corridor to Troy's chambers, my heart hammering against my ribs. The ornate double doors are slightly ajar, and through the crack, I can see flickering candlelight. No sound from within. I push the door open just wide enough to slip inside. Troy sits slumped in the leather chair beside his 4-poster bed, still wearing his torn and bloodied shirt. His head is tilted back, eyes closed, and there's a gash across his left shoulder that's soaking through the dark fabric. 3 parallel claw marks, definitely Shadowclaw work. You're bleeding on your expensive furniture, I say softly. His eyes snap open, immediately alert despite his exhaustion. What are you doing here? My job. I move toward the adjoining bathroom without waiting for permission. The contract says I'm responsible for the upkeep of the royal quarters. That includes keeping you from bleeding to death on the Persian rug. I return with a basin of warm water, clean towels, and the first aid supplies I found under his sink. Troy watches me warily as I approach, like I might attack him instead of help. I can handle it myself, he says, but his voice lacks its usual commanding edge. Sure you can. I set the supplies on the side table. Take off the shirt. Fiona, take off the shirt. I meet his eyes steadily. Or I can call the royal physician and explain why the mighty Alpha King is too stubborn to accept basic medical care. Something flickers across his face. Annoyance, maybe, or reluctant amusement. After a long moment, he reaches for the hem of his shirt and pulls it over his head in one fluid motion. My breath catches despite myself. I've seen shirtless males before, obviously, but Troy is different. His chest is a canvas of old scars and fresh bruises, muscles defined by years of battle and training. The mate bond hums approval, and I have to clench my teeth against the wave of unwanted attraction that hits me. Focus, Fiona. He's bleeding. The claw marks are deeper than I thought, still sluggishly bleeding despite his accelerated healing. I dip a clean cloth in the warm water and begin gently cleaning around the wounds. Troy's jaw tenses, but he doesn't pull away. We work in silence, me cleaning and treating his injuries, him enduring it with the stoic patience of someone accustomed to pain. The intimacy of the moment isn't lost on me. This is the closest we've been since the night he rejected me. Close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his skin and catch his scent with every breath. It's torture. Why do you do this? The question slips out before I can stop it. Do what? I gesture vaguely as I apply antiseptic to a particularly nasty scrape on his ribs. Fight their battles. Lead from the front. You're the Alpha King. You could send others to handle border disputes. He's quiet for so long I think he won't answer. Then, because they're my pack. My responsibility. Even if it gets you killed. Especially then. I finish cleaning the wounds and reach for the gauze, but my hands are shaking slightly. The emotional toll of being this close to him, of caring for him when I should hate him, is starting to crack my composure. Are you afraid? I whisper, more to myself than to him. Of what? The words come out in a rush, like I'm confessing to a priest instead of my greatest enemy. Of being alone. Of never being enough for anyone. Of dying without ever knowing why the goddess made you, what you were supposed to accomplish, who you were supposed to become. I think he's asleep. His breathing is deep and even, his body relaxed under my ministrations. So I keep talking, letting 3 weeks of bottled up fear and loneliness pour out into the candlelit silence. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't remember my mother's face. I don't know if she's alive or dead. If she thinks about me, if she regrets whatever choices led to me being found half dead in your territory. I don't know if I have siblings or a pack somewhere that's still looking for me, or if I'm truly as alone as I feel. My voice cracks on the last word, and I have to pause to steady myself before continuing to wrap his shoulder. I used to think maybe that was why the goddess paired us, because you were lonely too. Because underneath all that power and responsibility, you're just as lost as I am. But I was wrong, wasn't I? You don't need anyone. You made that clear. I tie off the bandage with more force than necessary, finally allowing myself to look at his face. Troy's eyes are open, alert, watching me with an intensity that makes my stomach drop to my toes. He heard every word. For a moment, we just stare at each other, the weight of my unintended confession hanging between us like a sword. I can see the conflict playing out across his features, the tightening of his jaw, the way his hands clench against the leather armrests, the rapid pulse beating at the base of his throat. The mate bond stretches taut between us, no longer the gentle pull I've grown accustomed to, but something urgent and demanding. His scent wraps around me, and I can see the exact moment his control starts to fracture. Fiona, he says, and my name sounds different in his mouth than it did 3 weeks ago. Less like a curse, more like a prayer. But then his expression hardens, and I watch him rebuild his walls in real time. He stands abruptly, putting distance between us. Thank you for the medical attention. You can go. The dismissal stings, but it's the crack in his voice that gives me hope. I gather the medical supplies slowly, taking my time, watching him out of the corner of my eye. He's standing by the window now, his back to me, shoulders rigid with tension. Even from across the room, I can feel the war raging inside him. Duty against desire, his cruel vow against the bond that refuses to be broken. Good night, Alpha King, I say softly, moving toward the door. I'm almost to the threshold when I hear it, a sound so quiet I might have imagined it. My name, whispered like a benediction, like a man on the verge of surrender. I don't turn around. Don't give him the satisfaction of seeing the tears in my eyes or the hope blooming dangerous and bright in my chest. But as I close his door behind me, I know something fundamental has shifted between us tonight. The question is, will he fight it or will he finally let himself fall? Chapter 3, The Breaking Point. The smell of silver burns my nostrils as I chase the scream through the forest, and I know I'm about to do something that will either save a life or end mine. 2 days have passed since that night in Troy's chambers, 2 days of stolen glances and careful distance, of him pretending that whispered Fiona never happened while I pretend I didn't hear the longing in his voice. The palace has returned to its routine of polite indifference, with me scrubbing floors and him avoiding me like I'm plague-ridden. But right now, none of that matters. The child's cry cuts through the afternoon air again, high and terrified, coming from the direction of the old silver mine. I'm supposed to be collecting herbs for the kitchen staff, not playing hero. But my feet are already moving before my brain catches up. I shift mid-run, my bones stretching and reforming as my wolf takes control. She's smaller than most, a disadvantage of being Omega. But she's fast, and right now speed is what we need. The scent hits me first, silver dust, thick and metallic, mixed with the sour stench of fear. Then I see them through the trees. 3 men in dark clothing surrounding a little girl who can't be more than 6 years old. She's backed against a massive oak tree, her small hands pressed against the bark, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. Silver hunters, the lowest form of human scum, people who hunt supernatural creatures for sport or profit. They've been picking off lone wolves near the border for months, but they've never been bold enough to come this deep into pack territory. Until now. Please, the little girl whimpers. I want my mama. Don't worry, little pup, one of the hunters says, his voice sickeningly sweet. This won't hurt for long. The silver-tipped net in his hands says otherwise. I don't think. Don't calculate the odds, or consider backup, or remember that I'm just one small Omega against 3 armed humans. I see a child in danger, and every protective instinct I possess roars to life. I leap from the underbrush with a snarl that echoes through the forest. The first hunter goes down under my weight, his shocked cry cutting off as my teeth find his throat. Not to kill. I'm not a monster, but enough to incapacitate. The taste of his fear floods my mouth as he goes limp beneath me. Silver, the second hunter shouts, raising some kind of spray gun. Get the silver. The chemical burns my nose and eyes, but I'm already moving, using my smaller size to dart between the trees. The hunters are big, clumsy, built for power rather than speed. In a fair fight, they'd crush me. But this isn't fair, and I don't intend to make it so. I take down the second hunter with a running leap to his back, sending him crashing into a tree trunk. His head connects with bark with a sickening crack, and he crumples. 2 down. 1 to go. But I've underestimated the third hunter's desperation. As I turn toward him, something flies through the air. A silver-laced bola that wraps around my legs and sends me tumbling to the forest floor. The silver burns through my fur like acid, and my wolf form shudders, trying to shift back to human to escape the pain. But that would leave me naked and defenseless, so I grit my teeth and force myself to stay wolf. Got you, you little bitch, the hunter snarls, approaching with a silver-tipped spear. You pack must think you own these woods, but he doesn't finish the sentence because a massive blur of black fur and fury crashes into him from the side. Troy. Even in wolf form, he's magnificent, easily twice my size, all rippling muscle and predatory grace. His coat is midnight black with silver streaks along his muzzle, and his eyes burn like molten gold in the dying afternoon light. The hunter doesn't even have time to scream. Troy makes quick, brutal work of the man, then turns to me with blood on his muzzle and panic in his golden eyes. He shifts back to human form without regard for modesty, his naked body covered in scratches and dirt as he kneels beside me. Fiona, he breathes, his hands hovering over the silver burns on my legs. Goddess, what were you thinking? I try to shift back, but the silver has done its work. My wolf form flickers unstable, caught between human and animal. Pain shoots through every nerve ending as my body tries to complete the transformation and fails. The child, I manage to gasp out, my voice caught between human speech and wolf whine. Is she safe? Troy's voice is tight with barely controlled panic. She ran toward the pack house when the fighting started. But you, his hands flutter over my injuries, wanting to help but afraid to touch the silver burns. Why didn't you wait for backup? Why didn't you call for help? Because there wasn't time, I want to say. Because she was just a baby and they were going to hurt her. Because someone had to do something. But the words won't come. The silver poisoning is spreading through my system, making my vision blur and my limbs shake. My wolf form finally gives up the fight, and I shift back to human with a cry of pain that echoes through the forest. Troy immediately shrugs out of his jacket and wraps it around me, his hands gentle despite the urgency in his movements. I'm getting you out of here, he says, scooping me up in his arms like I weigh nothing. The world tilts and spins as he carries me through the forest at inhuman speed. I drift in and out of consciousness, vaguely aware of him speaking into his phone, calling for the pack physician, barking orders in his alpha voice. The last thing I remember before the darkness takes me is the sound of his heart hammering against his chest, fast and frightened, like he's the one dying instead of me. I wake to the sound of my name being whispered like a prayer. Fiona. Please, Fiona. Come back to me. My eyelids feel like they weigh 1,000 pounds, but I force them open. The first thing I see is Troy's face, haggard and unshaven, his gray eyes red-rimmed with exhaustion. He's sitting in a chair pulled close to my bed, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles are white. How long? My voice comes out as a croak. Relief floods his features when he hears me speak. 3 days. You've been unconscious for 3 days. His voice cracks on the words. The physician said the silver poisoning was severe. We weren't sure if you were going to. He stops, swallows hard. But you're okay. You're going to be okay. I try to sit up and immediately regret it as pain shoots through my entire body. Troy's hands are there instantly, supporting me, helping me settle back against the pillows. Easy, he murmurs, his touch impossibly gentle. Don't push yourself. You stayed. I say, the realization hitting me as I take in his appearance. His clothes are wrinkled, his hair a mess, and there are food containers on the side table that look like they haven't been touched. You've been here the whole time. Something flickers across his face. Vulnerability, maybe, or shame. I couldn't leave. Every time I tried to walk away, my wolf would. He trails off, shaking his head. It doesn't matter. But it does matter. It matters more than anything, because for the first time since the rejection, I can see the cracks in his armor. The careful control he's maintained for weeks is crumbling, and underneath it is something raw and desperate and real. Troy, I whisper, and his name seems to break something inside him. He reaches for my hand, his fingers trembling as they intertwine with mine. When I found you in that forest, when I saw the silver burns, when you wouldn't wake up, his voice breaks completely. I thought I was going to lose you before I ever got the chance to. He stops himself, but the words hang in the air between us anyway. Before I ever got the chance to tell you I was wrong. Before I ever got the chance to take it back. Before I ever got the chance to choose you. The mate bond, which has been a whisper for weeks, suddenly roars to life between us. It hits like a physical force, making the air around us shimmer with electricity. Troy scent wraps around me, pine and leather and something uniquely him, and I watch his pupils dilate as he breathes in my scent in return. Fiona, he says again, but this time it's not a prayer. It's a plea. He leans closer, his free hand coming up to cup my face, his thumb tracing the line of my cheekbone. The mate bond is singing now, demanding, pulling us together with a force that's been building for weeks. I can see the exact moment he stops fighting it. His eyes flash gold, not human gray, but the molten gold of his wolf, and he leans down until his forehead rests against mine. His breathing is ragged, and when he speaks, his voice is rough with need. I can't fight this anymore, he whispers. I can't pretend I don't. The words are cut off as the mate bond surges between us like lightning. Troy's wolf rises to the surface, drawn by my vulnerability, by the scent of my blood, by 3 days of fear that he'd lose me forever. His canine teeth elongate, and before either of us realizes what's happening, he's leaning toward my neck, toward my mating gland. His wolf wants to mark me. Here. Now. While I'm weak and wounded and unable to stop him. The realization hits Troy like a physical blow. He jerks back so violently that he nearly falls out of the chair, his eyes wide with horror at what he almost did. No, he breathes, scrambling away from the bed like I'm on fire. No, I can't, I won't. Troy, wait. But he's already at the door, his face a mask of self-loathing and terror. I'm sorry, he chokes out. I'm so fucking sorry, Fiona. I can't control it. I can't control myself around you, and that makes me dangerous. You're not dangerous, I call after him, trying to sit up despite the pain. Troy, please. The door slams shut behind him, leaving me alone with the lingering scent of his fear and the echo of words that felt like goodbye. But this time, I'm not letting him run. This time, I'm going after him, even if it kills me. Chapter 4. Whispers of Rebellion. The pack council's voices drift through the heavy oak doors like poison, and every word cuts deeper than silver. It's been 2 days since Troy fled my hospital room in terror. 2 days since I've seen anything more than his shadow disappearing around corners when he spots me coming. I'm finally strong enough to walk the palace halls without assistance, though the silver burns still ache with every step. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was heading to the kitchens to resume my servant duties when I heard Elder Blackthorn's distinctive gravelly voice coming from the council chambers. Something in his tone made me pause, press myself against the wall beside the partially open door. I should have kept walking. The king grows weak for his servant Luna, Elder Blackthorn says, his words dripping with disdain. 3 days and nights he sat by her bedside like a lovesick pup. The entire pack is talking. It's unnatural, agrees Councilwoman Reed, her shrill voice cutting through the air. A contracted servant holding such sway over the Alpha King. She's bewitched him somehow. My blood runs cold. They're talking about me. About Troy's vigil during my recovery. The girl is a liability, comes another voice, Councilman Torres, I think. No pack, no lineage, no strength to speak of. And yet she has the audacity to throw herself into danger, forcing our king to abandon pack business to play nursemaid. Perhaps, Elder Blackthorn says slowly, it's time to reconsider the terms of her contract. 1 year was always too generous for someone of her station. The words hit me like a physical blow. They want me gone. Not just the council. The entire pack thinks I'm a weakness, a stain on Troy's reputation that needs to be scrubbed clean. The king nearly marked her, Councilwoman Reed whispers, and the scandal in her voice makes my cheeks burn with shame. Can you imagine? The Alpha King of the Northern Territories, bound to an Omega nobody with mysterious origins. It would be the end of our standing with the other packs. His wolf is compromised, Torres agrees. The mate bond has made him vulnerable. Soft. How can he lead with authority when everyone knows he's wrapped around the finger of a servant? I press my hand to my mouth to stifle the sob that threatens to escape. They're right, aren't they? Troy has been different since I arrived, torn between duty and desire, between the vow he made and the bond neither of us can break. I've made him weak in the eyes of his people. Something must be done, Elder Blackthorn says with finality, for the good of the pack. I don't stay to hear the rest. I stumble away from the door on shaking legs, their words echoing in my head like a curse. The king grows weak for his servant Luna. She's bewitched him somehow. A liability. Something must be done. I make it to my small room in the servants' quarters before the tears come. Great. Heaving sobs that shake my entire body as the truth crashes over me like a tidal wave. They're right. About all of it. Troy rejected me publicly to maintain his strength, his authority, his standing as Alpha King. But then I had to go and save that child, had to nearly die from silver poisoning, had to make him choose between his duty and my life. And he chose me. For 3 days and nights, he chose me over everything else. And now his pack thinks he's weak. I sink onto my narrow bed, my head in my hands. What have I done? I came here with nothing, was given shelter and protection when I could have died in the forest. Troy saved my life once already, and I've repaid him by making him look weak in front of his own people. The council is planning something. I could hear it in their voices. They want me gone, and they'll find a way to make it happen. They'll twist Troy's arm, threaten pack stability, maybe even call for a vote of no confidence. I won't let that happen. I won't let my presence destroy everything Troy has worked to build. The decision crystallizes in my chest like ice. I know what I have to do. I wait until the palace falls silent, until even the night guards have settled into their routines. The moon is just a sliver in the dark sky as I gather my few belongings. A change of clothes, the small knife Troy gave me for protection 3 years ago, and the silver locket I was wearing when they found me in the forest. Everything I own fits in a canvas bag small enough to carry on my back. I leave no note. What would I say? Thank you for 3 years of charity. Sorry I ruined your life? Some things are better left unspoken. The palace corridors are shadows and silence as I make my way toward the main entrance. My bare feet make no sound on the marble floors, and my small size lets me duck behind pillars whenever I hear footsteps. I'm almost to the door when I catch his scent. Pine and leather and something uniquely Troy, lingering in the air like he passed this way recently. My wolf whines, wanting to follow the trail, to find him and curl up beside him like we're meant to. But that's exactly the problem, isn't it? We're meant to be together, but being together will destroy him. I force myself to keep moving, to push open the heavy front door and slip into the pre-dawn darkness. The forest calls to me, promising freedom and solitude, and an end to the impossible situation I've created. I shift as soon as I'm beyond the palace grounds, letting my wolf form take over. She's still weak from the silver poisoning, but she's eager to run, to put distance between us and the source of our heartbreak. We make it almost 3 miles before they find us. The attack comes without warning, a blur of brown fur launching itself from the underbrush to tackle me to the ground. I roll, snarling, but there are more of them. 3, maybe 4 rogues, their sense wild and wrong, tainted by madness and desperation. Rogues are wolves who've been cast out of their packs, left to go feral without the stabilizing influence of pack bonds. They're dangerous, unpredictable, and they have nothing left to lose. I manage to get back on my feet, but I'm still weak, still healing. 1 against 4 isn't good odds, even when I'm at full strength. The largest rogue circles me, his yellow eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. Look what we have here, he growls, his voice distorted by his half-shifted form. A little lost Omega, all alone in the big scary woods. I'm not afraid of you, I snarl back, though we both know it's a lie. He laughs, a sound like breaking glass. You will be. They attack as one, coordinated despite their madness. Claws rake across my ribs, fangs snap at my throat. I fight back with everything I have, but it's not enough. There are too many of them, and I'm too weak. A rogue gets behind me, his claws sinking deep into my shoulder. I scream, a sound caught between human cry and wolf howl, as white-hot agony tears through my body. But the pain doesn't just affect me. 50 miles away in the palace, I feel Troy's sudden jolt of awareness through the mate bond. Feel his confusion turn to alarm as my pain crashes over him like a tsunami. Feel the exact moment he realizes what's happening. Fiona. His voice echoes in my head through the bond, desperate and terrified. I feel him shift, feel his wolf tear out of the palace like a force of nature, feel his raw panic as he races toward me through the forest. But he's too far away. We both know it. The rogues know it too. Scream louder, little Omega. The leader snarls, his claws digging deeper. Let your precious Alpha hear what happens to wolves who wander alone in the dark. Pain explodes through my body as his fangs find my throat, not to mark, but to tear. Blood pours down my neck, and my vision starts to blur. Through the mate bond, I feel Troy's anguish like it's my own. Feel his wolf howling with rage and desperation as he pushes himself beyond his limits, racing against time to reach me. But even as darkness starts to claim me, I know the truth that's breaking both our hearts. He won't make it in time. Chapter 5, The Choice. The rogues closed in, their snarls echoing through the trees. I could barely stand, my body torn and weak, when a deafening roar split the night. Troy. He burst from the shadows in his wolf form, silver fur streaked with blood from his battle to reach me. Claws slashed, fangs tore, and in a frenzy of fury, he ripped the rogues apart one by one. The ground trembled beneath his rage, his eyes burning like wildfire in the darkness. But even as the last rogue fell silent, I saw him falter. His wolf staggered, wounds spilling red into the dirt. When he shifted back, he was on his knees before me, bleeding, broken, but his gaze never wavered. I lied to myself, Fiona, he rasped, voice shaking but unyielding. I swore I'd never love you, never mark you, never be yours. But the bond. His hand clutched his chest as if the very thing was tearing him apart. The bond won't let me deny it anymore. It's you. It's always been you. My heart thundered, torn between the pride that had carried me this far and the love I had fought so hard to bury. His vow of rejection still burned like a scar inside me. Yet here he was, the Alpha King, trembling not from weakness, but from the terror of losing me. My voice cracked as I whispered, "If I let you mark me, will you ever let me go?" The silence that followed was alive with the pounding of our hearts, with the bond stretching between us like fire and steel. Then his eyes ignited, a feral, desperate glow. His fangs slid into place, sharp and glistening in the moonlight. Not with hatred, not with cruelty, but with a hunger that came from something deeper, unstoppable, eternal. He bared his teeth, and in that moment, I knew the bond was demanding its final answer. Would I surrender to destiny, or would pride force me to walk away? If you enjoyed this werewolf romance audiobook, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.